Yesterday, OpenAI released two new AI models, completely free and open source, open weight models called GPT OSS, and they come in two variations, the 120 billion parameter model, as well as a 20 billion parameter model that's a lot smaller and can actually fit onto your laptop. So in this video, I'm going to show you what these models are, how they work, how you can actually access them for free, and what is the point of these open source models? Why is it so exciting? So the first thing is uh, the models are reasoning models. So they behave the same way your O series models would behave when you're in ChatGPT. So if you've ever used ChatGPT O3, O4 Mini, um, I have videos of those models on my profile as well. You'll see that these are different from regular models in that they think about things. So when you ask a question, they go through like a bit of a thinking cycle, and they're able to use tools, and they're a little more agentic. So you could say, "Hey, go research the state of AI in open source," and it goes and runs a bunch of searches for you. It collects data, it thinks through the data, it puts it all together into a summary, and then presents it back to you. And that whole process is a lot better than just a direct answer from the AI model. Now, the open source models by OpenAI are interesting because they perform slightly below par than their current paid models like O3, which is really cool to see. So if you look at the graph over here, you'll see that the GPT OSS 120 billion parameter model, which is the big one that they released, is almost on par with O3. So you got 2622 ELO rating and 2706, which is really good. And the 20 billion model, which ostensibly can fit into your laptop, is clocking in at 2516. A bit lower, of course, but also not bad. And if you look at, they actually outperform O3 Mini without tool usage. So that's really interesting to see that these are sort of almost on par with kind of next gen models from OpenAI, the ones that you pay for. If you look at humanity's last exam, which is basically a massive data set of questions across different subjects just to test general reasoning, you'll see that they perform a lot lower than O3 with tools, but still on par with like the mini O3 and O4 models. And again, really great performance on the benchmarks. Now, let's go and actually test it out on our computers and see how it works. So what you can see on my screen here is Ollama, which is a software you can use and download on your Mac, and then that allows you to chat with open source models. Basically, you get a whole bunch of open source models here, as you can see, the Gemma series, the Llama series, the Quen series, DeepSeek. Um, some of these models are small, and you can download it onto your computer, the whole thing. The 120 billion model is 60 GB. You can technically download it, but it would absolutely not run, and it'll probably crash your computer. So do not do that. But you can download the 20 billion model, 20 billion parameter model onto your MacBook if you have it. If you have like a decent size RAM. I think you need 16 GB RAM. Now, I've got the model here on my computer. It's a 20 billion parameter model. Let's see how it works. Just going to say a simple hey there. And I've tried running this before, and as you can see, it's taking a while to think about this. In fact, I've run it a few times, and I almost never get an answer back. So it sort of does this little thinking thing for maybe a minute or two, and then just closes, and my computer starts to freeze up as well. So I don't have a good enough computer apparently. Um, I am on the 2021 M1 Pro, which I assumed would be good enough to run a 20 billion parameter model, but turns out it's not. So you may need an M4 Pro if you want to actually run this model on your local computer. So that didn't work out, unfortunately, but there is a way that you can access these open source models, and it's called the GPT OSS Playground. So just go on to GPT OSS Playground, and you'll be able to use them here. They're basically the open source models hosted on Hugging Face, and so you could just access them through a regular chat interface here. And we're going to test it out in this section. So I'm looking at the 120 billion parameter model. This is the bigger one. and we've got the reasoning on and a high level of reasoning. And I'm giving it a little prompt here, which is just saying, write a short fiction, science fiction story where the first letter of each word in the story spells out the title of the story. And this is just basically a test to check how creative it is, how good it is at generating stories, but also can it reason through and create something where it fits the parameters of the story. So let's see how it does. So right off the bat, you can see some of the thinking tokens here. And it's very similar to O3 in the way that it's pretty fast. It starts thinking right away, and then it gives us a story. Space word. Solar probes ascend, charting enigmatic wormholes across radiant depth. There you go. And really good, concise story that makes sense and actually fits the parameters. Let's see how the 20 billion model does here. So 20 billion model as well runs pretty quickly. Thinks for 9 seconds and then okay, so Galactic Quest is, it doesn't give me the title of the story like the 120 billion model did, but it figured it out, right? It went through a whole bunch of stuff. It is Galactic Quest is what it was going for, and it gave me the story here. Glimmering alien lurching, Arkin code strats bit. Yeah, okay. It's also interesting to see like the thought process as well, because the thought process is very coherent, right? It's pretty good. It actually goes through, writes it out, checks every word, makes sure it follows the constraints that given it, and then it just runs it again a bit more, and finally gives me a full story. So both models pretty good on this test. Let's try a new test. Okay, so now I'm going to try a math test as well, and starting again with the 120 billion model. Let's ask it to derive the quadratic formula for us. So I want to see how it reasons again and how it explains things, but using math. So again, we see the thinking tokens here. Thought for a couple of seconds, so fairly quick, went through a lot, and then it gives us a derivation. So what we do, divide every term by a coefficient, isolate the constant, complete the square on the left side, simplify the right-hand side, take the square root, solve for x. Okay, so there you go. Not bad. Kind of just like gave us everything, including all of the, like the formatting of the math equations are not great here, but that's just like a UI thing. But it actually kind of does it well. It like, you can see the thinking tokens here, and it's kind of like it is correct in the steps that it's taking here to derive the quadratic formula. Let's try this with the 20 billion parameter model. And so again, let's see, we got here. So divide the whole equation by a, isolate x, decide what to complete. Yeah, add the, okay. So pretty much the same thing. Again, like the tokens here of like showing kind of the math is just a UI thing, that just the way they display. You obviously you could your app using this model could display it better if you wanted to do that. But the reasoning here is accurate. And for our last test here, we're going to do a bit of a coding example. So we're asking it to do the classic FizzBuzz Python code here. And here we go. Fizz, it's got like the doc strings and documentation here. That's great. And yeah, basically divisible by both 3 and 5. Fizz, buzz, boom, there we go. Usage example. Okay. And it actually, so yeah, why it gives you an example of like an explanation of why did it this way as well. So pretty good on the 120 billion model parameter. Let's see how the 20 billion does now. Try that. This is a smaller model, and let's see how it does. Now we've got pretty much the same result. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so it gives us the same result. Like, so the actual code is correct. Um, but the 120 billion model went a bit further ahead and actually explained why the code was the way it was, and it gave us well, you got the example here too. So really good on both of them. Um, Performing well on reasoning tasks, language or science fiction, well, creativity tasks rather, maths, and coding. Why is this such a big deal, right? You're probably looking at this and going, okay, great, it can do a lot of stuff. Like, I already have ChatGPT. Why do I need this? Um, Number one, it is completely free and open source, which means I know it didn't work for me, but you can download this if you have a powerful enough computer, at least the 20 billion parameter version, and have like really good reasoning capabilities on your local machine, which means you don't even need an internet connection for it to work unless you wanted to use web search as a tool, which it can do. But the fact that you could get intelligence like this on your local machine, and maybe someday it works on your phone as well, as phones become smarter and as these big models become smaller but with the same amount of intelligence, we'll soon be able to get intelligence on our phone on demand without needing internet or anything, right? Which is wild to think about. Like, if you go back a year, when we were still talking about GPT-4, we didn't have the O3 reasoning models. This open source model is on par with that, like with what we had a year ago, and that was still wildly amazing, right? And then the 120 billion model only needs like one GPU, like a high-end GPU to run, which you can rent on a server for very little. So if you are an enterprise looking for AI solutions, and you're concerned about like the security of your data and stuff, you have this entire model that you could just download onto your own private server and run, right? And it runs as well or better than last year's, paid models. Again, it's only going to get better with time, right? Like, local intelligence in the palm of your hand or private intelligence that you can run on your own server, completely secure with your own data. You can set up your own server at home and run this and allow it to like help you with things in your house or your business and stuff like that, right? Um, so I think it's pretty cool. Obviously, like, it doesn't perform on par with O3 and O4, but it is performing better than your ChatGPT 3.5, which kind of like, you know, made massive waves across the world, right? So the intelligence is getting better, the models are getting smaller, the computing that we have available on our devices is getting better. Like, it's not hard to see in like 6 months or a year that you have your own O3 level reasoning model available to you for free in your own devices. Um, I think that's wild. So anyway, go check out the open source models, play with it. If you have a powerful computer, download the 20 billion model version. Even try to fine tune it yourself, right? You can do whatever you want with it. It's open weights. You can train it, if fine tune it, or customize it, or build your own little things out of it. Create your own little private, messaging bot or whatever based on your text, and see how it does, right? And if you have any questions or any thoughts around open source AI, let me know. Comment below.